Hello, fellow peoples. Have you ever looked at the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, or any other old text from our history and wondered what they say?
I have not. There's typically
Typically, next to the documents is the transcription of said documents. But who translated these documents?
Well, I presume you're going to tell me.
Well, my friends, today we'll be talking about one of the most important jobs a historian can undertake. Transcribing. What is transcribing, you might ask? Well, transcribing, according to Cambridge Dictionary, transcribing is, and I quote, to change a piece of writing or music into another form, for example, into a different writing system or into music for different instruments. Now that we know what transcribing is, what's its uses in the modern day? One of the big things that we should know about transcribing is that it is one of the largest tools historians and other people use. Since people, instead of having to decipher what the documents are saying, there is a translation that may go with it. It is to the same information, but is translated to a more common form of writing/language. Like print, which just about everyone can read. Now I'm gonna run a small experiment with you guys, girls, people. I'll put a document on the screen, and it will be your job to translate as much as you can within 20 seconds. Now you can pause the video to get extra time, but at the end, we will see what the video and document actually says.
Well, I thought it said aviation there. Its fat little body off the.
Now we'll see what the document says. Some of you may have been close, while some of you may have been wildly off. And some of you are just wrong. Get out and never return.
Aw.
But you could see the importance of this profession now. I had my fair share of transcribing myself. I spent roughly 15 hours with the Washington County Historical Society in Hagerstown, or also more commonly known as the Miller House. I was transcribing World War I letters from Sergeant George Nevin Oswald. Sergeant Oswald was born in 1893 and joined the U.S. Army. He was in Company K of the 313th U.S. Infantry. He saw action at Verdun and the Meuse-Argonne offensive. After the war, he spent around 6 months in France. During his time in France, he wrote many letters. There were in total 32 letters written during his time in France. During my 15 hours, I was only able to transcribe 20 of which. Why is my work important? Well, for one, it gives a new perspective of the war. It impacts the impacts of the people serving and also the population. Using modern technology, we will put in a scene from one of his letters.
The country here is beautiful, but that's all I can give this place. We have seen acres and acres of wheat, oats, and etc. I can't see why there's a shortage here of cereals, as the fields are full of women, no men. Their methods of harvesting are punk. Most of the grime is cut by a scythe and pounded by hand. All the horses have been. We see some specimens. The women pull plows and wagons, and the American women would learn a lesson if they could see what they average for a lot of French women's.
This was Sergeant Oswald when he first got into France. However, the date is unknown. On October 9th, 1918, Sergeant Oswald wrote this about his latest experience on the front, specifically the Meuse-Argonne offensive.
We rode in cattle cars, trucks, and then hiked to the front line trenches. Out hell has started. We held this position for a week, and then moved back and into a sector on our right. We rested here for some time, and the night before my birthday, Q took up the first line again. 5:30, I led half a platoon over the top in a drive that extended over a 70-mile front. I'll never forget my 25th birthday.
Since we were able to transcribe some of these letters, we unlocked a new perspective of the war, and how the view of the war also changed. Early into his deployment, sometime in the mid-1918s, he was more enthusiastic and enjoyed the scenery and was full of confidence. But now, in October of 1918, a few months after, he showed a drastic shift. He seemed to be just a different man. One of the things that I learned while doing my 15 hours was that the writing style had changed. Words, their meanings and spelling were mostly the same, but in some cases had completely different meanings, and some words aren't even around anymore. If it wasn't for the work of transcribers, making documentaries, movies, games, books, and many other forms of education, they would only show the basic information. For example, the forces, the land lost / gained, the total death toll, and it will only give the basic information. But because of the hard work of transcribers, we get a new perspective of the men and women on the ground. Let's think about some of our favorite movies / TV shows for a minute. All Quiet on the Western Front, Saving Private Ryan, Hacksaw Ridge, The Thin Red Line, and Im Westen nicht News. All of these productions use letters from soldiers and civilians of the war to understand the mindset of the men who served during their time. Now, it is important to note, but less than a quarter of the U.S. can read and write in cursive. Less people can read cursive. This means that the voices of soldiers, civilians, families, and friends are being lost to time. But if you want to preserve these documents and contribute to the field, learn cursive. Don't let these voices be forgotten. Plus, it's a really good skill to have.
Am I still getting paid for this?
No!